Hey, what is going on everyone? I have two laptops in front of me right now. I have the 14-inch MacBook Pro M1 and I have my 16-inch MacBook Pro with the M1 Max chip. Now this video is not going to be comparing the 14-inch to the 16-inch because I already made a video on that actually previously. This video is going to be comparing the MacBook Pro M1 Pro chip to the MacBook Pro M1 Max chip and which one you guys should get if you're a student. Now, there are plenty of videos on YouTube right now comparing these two laptops, whether it's the 14 to the 16 or the M1 Pro to the M1 Max, but they're comparing it from a tech perspective. They're comparing it from, very big guys that work in, photos and video editing and design and massive things like that. But this video is going to be focused on students, and if you're a student for school, which laptop you should get and which laptop would actually benefit you depending on what program you're actually in. Now, if you're just here to hear about the final verdict and which one is better, I would recommend the M1 Pro chip over the M1 Max chip, and there are plenty of reasons why I think the M1 Pro is more beneficial for students than the M1 Max chip, but I do actually talk about which types of students the M1 Max chip might be beneficial for. So if you fall into that category, which you might, then I would recommend that you watch the full video. But if you just came to figure out which one is better, I know you guys have a lot of assignments, a lot of tests, a lot of studying for exams and midterms and things like that, so don't even worry about watching the rest of the video. Just go with the M1 Pro chip. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment down below what laptop you have now and which laptop you're actually going to purchase. Or if you're just watching this video for fun, comment down below who you are and where you're from. I'm really interested to get to know you guys. But if you guys are interested in learning more on which laptop is better and which one you guys should get, I would recommend watching to the end of this video. But before we start this video, we want to make sure that everybody has a nice cup of coffee to drink. I know I have my Venti cold brew with light ice that I get every single day, or I make at home every single day because I only drink black coffee. If you guys didn't already know that, I strictly only drink black coffee. But now let's get into the video. So this is the M1 Pro 14-inch and this is the M1 Max 16-inch. However, imagine that this is the 14-inch M1 Max because that's what we're going to be comparing in this video. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the new features in both of these laptops. So again, both of these are 14-inch laptops, 14.2 inch across the screen, which is 1 inch larger than the old MacBook Pro M1. So that is a big factor to think about because having that one extra screen real estate is beneficial for you to have even like that extra smidge of size when you're working on, let's say you're doing split screen with documents, you're working on an essay on one side and you need Safari on another side to look into research articles. It's nice to have that extra 1 inch. Yeah, I know you guys might be thinking like, yo, that 1 inch makes no difference. But if you guys have ever seen a 15-inch versus a 13-inch laptop, you guys can tell the difference. So you could clearly tell that that 1 inch does make a difference. 2 inches makes an even larger difference, and 3 inches makes an even larger difference. So 1 inch, if you have the opportunity to upgrade to the 14-inch, I would recommend doing so because that one extra screen inch does make a difference. Now, another thing that was upgraded is that both of these laptops now have double the brightness of the old MacBook Pro M1. So the MacBook Pro M1 has 500 nits of brightness. These two laptops have 1000 nits of brightness, and it could actually go up to 1600 nits of brightness if your computer really needs it. Now, what does nits of brightness mean? Now, if you're ever outside of your house and you're using your phone, sometimes you might have noticed that your phone, like the display, you can't see it very well while the brightness is already at 100%. Why is that the case? And that's because the nits of brightness is too low. So if you're working outside at a coffee shop or you're working on one of those picnic tables in school or whatever the case may be, having one of these 14-inch laptops would be very beneficial because your screen will still be bright enough for you to get enough work done even if there's sunlight pointing at your screen. Sometimes you notice if you have sunlight pointing at your screen, you can see nothing. Well, with these laptops, you can actually see much more because of the increased nits of brightness. Now, another new feature is the camera. Both of these laptops have the 1080p camera that is upgraded for this year. The old MacBook Pros with the M1 chip have a 720p camera. And I actually think Apple upgraded these cameras because of how often we use them now with video conference calls. We're still using a lot of video calls for school and for chatting with our friends or family, like Zoom and Microsoft Teams. So having that better camera is definitely more beneficial. That is both present in this laptop and in this laptop. The next thing we're going to be talking about is the upgraded ports. Now, if you guys have seen my previous videos, I don't want to spill my coffee. You've probably seen that we have some upgraded ports. On this side, we have the fast charging, we have the USB-C, another USB-C, and what else do we have on this side? Oh, actually, I'm talking about the wrong side. This side, we have HDMI cable, USB-C, and SD card. This side, we have the fast charging, USB-C, USB-C, and the audio output cable. Both of these new laptops have it, the M1 Pro and the M1 Max, while the old MacBook Pro M1 did not have them. So is this beneficial for you or not? Well, that depends on your lifestyle. If you're using a lot of photos, you're taking a lot of photos for your program, or you're doing, videos or graphics, or you're using an SD card for anything, that's definitely a pro in having that SD card slot, because it is really quick. But I mean, there are solutions. Like with my old computer, I used to use this simple cable, USB-C to SD card. There are solutions out there, and you guys will see later on in the video that it's really not a deal breaker when you're deciding which laptop to get. That SD card switch will not really make a difference. However, what could make a difference is that now with these new laptops, you actually have access to fast charging. Both the M1 Pro and the M1 Max have fast charging, and that is basically how you could charge your laptop. If you look over here, you'll see the fast charging thing. That is basically how you could charge your laptop to 50% in only 30 minutes. But with the 16-inch, that charger, the fast charger, comes with the base model. You don't need to pay extra for it. However, for the 14-inch, you actually, when you're buying your laptop, you pay an extra $20 and you get that extra 96-watt brick that actually allows you to enable fast charging, which is a big factor, especially if you're a student and you need fast charging, or if your laptop's about to die and you have class soon and there's no chargers in class. What are you gonna do? Well, you use a fast charger, and now you're chilling. You're in class, 40%, 50%, and you're using your laptop, for hours and hours, because the battery life is amazing on these computers. But before we talk about battery, one other cool feature that both of these laptops have is that not only does it charge with MagSafe, the fast charger, but you could still charge with USB-C. Remember the cable that you guys use for your old laptops? Yeah, you could still charge with that. So there are two options for charging: USB-C and the new MagSafe fast charger, which is, both of them are very big pros in these laptops that the old MacBook Pro M1 did not have. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is the chips in these laptops, the M1 Max versus the M1 Pro, and which one is more beneficial for you based on whatever program you're in. Now, we know that the M1 Pro is basically double the speed of the M1. And we also know that the M1 was literally insanity in terms of its speed. Like, literally, it took us to space, like literally rocket ship to space in terms of speed, and the fan never turned on because it was so efficient. So having double that power, doubling what was already insane, is now like, you can't just have an insane 2.0. Like, that's just insanity. Like, there's nothing better. That's the M1 Pro. Now imagine taking the M1 Pro and doubling that, you get the M1X. We're talking about 4 times the speed of the M1. Now, I don't know if you guys had the M1, but I had the M1 for my Mac Mini, which I actually traded in to get this new laptop. I traded in this one and my MacBook Pro to get the M1 Max, and I barely paid anything to get this laptop because I just traded in my 2 computers. But basically, this is 4 times as quick as the M1, and that is beneficial for a specific subset of people. It's definitely nice to have a very quick computer, but you won't notice the difference unless you're performing specific tasks. Examples are coding, like doing big coding projects. I'm talking about like over 10,000 lines of code using like C++ or Python, or even you're doing like a big website with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, anything like that. We're using so many lines of code. Maybe the M1 Max could be beneficial for that. Not saying the M1 Pro won't be beneficial, but the fan might turn on for this one. I'm like 99.9% sure it will not turn on for this one. Keep in mind, the fan turns on when the computer heats up. And when you have more strength in your chips, the computer has less chance of heating up. Just to give you guys a quick understanding of what are the difference in these chips, this laptop has an 8-core CPU, which is computer processing unit, and a 16-core GPU, graphics processing unit. Now this one is a 10-core CPU, which is only 2 cores different, not that big of a difference. However, the GPU is 32 cores. 32 cores is double the GPUs in this one. That is the graphics processing unit. So that comes back to the point where this laptop is only going to be beneficial if you're doing video editing. Maybe you're doing a lot of Photoshop on Lightroom, Adobe, Pixelmator. You're using big programs that need a lot of graphics, or even if you're gaming. If you game a lot, this laptop might be beneficial as well. So think about the program that you're in. If you're in a regular science program, 11 times out of 10, you probably need this computer. You probably won't use this M1 Max. However, if you're in photography or videography, or if you're even some engineering programs that do a lot of coding, like mechatronics, software engineering, this M1 Max might actually be beneficial. I'm not saying it's perfect for you. It's probably still overkill. I'm not exaggerating. This laptop is definitely overkill. But at the end of the day, it is definitely very, very good. And something to think about is also longevity. You're going to get a laptop and you're going to keep it for what? 4 or 5 years. So if you want to make sure that you have the best performance after 4 years or 5 years, what I like to do is get one of the good ones right now, so I don't need to upgrade every single 2 years. So for example, my Apple Watch, I got the Apple Watch that ever came out in 2014, and just recently, this last July, my Apple Watch broke on me. I had it for 7 years, But keep in mind, I didn't get the base model. I got the stainless steel model because I wanted to make sure that I had the Apple Watch for a long period of time, because I wasn't trying to spend an extra $600 every 3 years to get a new Apple Watch. Rather, I spent like $800 to get the stainless steel one when it came out, to ensure that I had the Apple Watch for a long period of time without having to purchase one every single like 2 years or whatever. Same thing with your phone. You want to get a phone that you think will last you a while, rather than getting the base model and then having to upgrade after 2 years and then 2 years and 2 years and end up paying so much for your computers. So that is something definitely to consider when purchasing these laptops. Are you getting it for longevity? You're getting it for now for a couple years and then you're going to upgrade later, or maybe you don't even need to upgrade. Keep in mind, both of these laptops are very good for longevity. I'm just trying to explain all the points so that you could take all of this information and then decide based on whatever works for you and on your lifestyle. Now the next thing is battery, and you guys probably know 14-inch laptop, they have the exact same battery. I just wanted to explain it quickly. Both of the 14 inches with the M1 Pro and the M1 Max have 17 hours of battery life. Definitely more than enough if you're a student. 17 hours is amazing, but again, comes back to my original point of longevity. If you have any Apple products, you know that after a long period of time, the battery does deteriorate. So having a larger battery is definitely beneficial for deciding which laptop to get. But for the sake of the 14 inches, they have the same battery, so you don't really have options. But if you were comparing the 16 inch to the 14 inch, the 16 inch has 21 hours of battery life, which maybe after, I don't know, 3 years, it'll be 15 hours, while the 14 inch is 11 hours. So those are definitely things to consider when purchasing your computer. Figure out how long you need it for and if it's going to be beneficial for you in the future and what you're going to exactly be using it for. Now, one thing that is actually very different between the 14-inch M1 Pro and the 14-inch M1 Max is the price. Now, you guys probably know this. Nicer chip, more expensive price. So you guys got it, you guessed it. The M1 Pro starts at $24.99 Canadian, and I think, what is it? $19.99 US. Now, the M1 Max 14-inch starts at oh my goodness, it actually starts at $36.49. That is $1,150 more. A lot of money. Don't get me wrong, that is a lot of money. Is it worth it? Probably not, especially if you're an average student. Definitely not worth it. Or even if you're an above average student. Like, these laptops, like Pro models, are not even for average students. Those are like really good for people that use it as like their day job full time with like editing and things like that. That's what these laptops are basically for. Now in the US, this laptop is actually $28.99. But don't forget, if you're a student, you can actually get both of these laptops for cheaper using a specific hack on the Apple website. Do me a favor, go on Google, search up Apple student pricing. The first link that comes up, click on it, and then you're gonna actually see the new prices for the M1 Pro and the M1 Max. For the 14-inch M1 Pro, the new prices are $23.09 Canadian and $18.49 American. And then for the M1 Max on the student site for Canadian, $33.49, and then American it is $26.59. So you definitely save a couple bucks here and there. So I would recommend definitely, if you're buying a new computer, to go on the student price and get it. However, if you're not in a rush to get it, I'd actually say to wait till the summer. Maybe trade in the computer you have right now to Apple in the summer and get the same prices, but you'll actually get free AirPods with it as well. And the AirPods 3 were actually released, I think, the same time as these. Yeah, they were released the same time as these. So if you wait for the summer, you could trade in the computer you have now, get a couple $100s for it, maybe get the M1 Pro, while also getting AirPods 3 and a discount on the M1 Pro. It's literally the best of both worlds, so if I were you, that's probably what I would do. If you were a student and you didn't really need to upgrade right now. But yeah, that essentially summed up this video. I hope this video was beneficial to you guys. Really think about what you need the laptop for and then decide on which one you want to get. Maybe you're going to get the 16-inch M1 Pro, not the M1 Max. Or maybe you need the 14-inch, you want a small one, but you need so much power for the M1 Max. Maybe you just want a lot of power and you want the best bang for your buck for longevity. 16-inch M1 Max would probably be where you should go. But again, it's still overkill no matter what. So I would recommend just making a pros and cons list, deciding which one is beneficial for you, and then going from there. If you guys have any questions, definitely leave them down below in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and like, because I do love making tech videos. I love tech. Believe me, guys, I love tech. I love studying. Well, I don't love studying. I love talking about studying, and maybe I use it to procrastinate from studying. So those are the types of videos I make. But if you guys do enjoy these videos, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care and take it easy.